Everyone, Tony Winston, Jazz Piano College, doing a late night video for a change, and I'm working out of this book, Jazz Improv: How to Play It and Teach It by Jimmy Amati, and I did a little introduction to it the other day, so check that out. What I'm going to do is go through the first part of this book, and it is a very wordy book, all right? Lots of words, and even when there's a nice musical example, you can see there's a lot of description. And honestly, a lot of it is very redundant and unnecessary, so I'm just going to give you the finer points. And this book is pretty hard to find anyway. I looked for a long time before I found one. Now, I'm just going to cover the first section of the book, and that basically deals with what we call now enclosures, where, like, suppose you have a C seventh chord, and you enclose the notes like this, and then the next note, you enclose it like that. And the author, Jimmy Amati, has 8 different ways, which he calls different forms, improvisational forms. And so I'm going to go over those 8 forms with you, and they're all enclosures, basically. And the examples in this book are really good. So down in the description, I have taken pictures of just the examples. And so it's, 4 or 5 pages. And so you can print that out, and it's absolutely free. So one of the main parts of his approach to improvisation is what you call tension and release. And so when you're surrounding the note, those are like tension notes. But when you get to the target note, that releases the tension. And so here, the first figure, we just have, like a C major chord. It's shown in the context of a C major scale. And then we have the other notes that we can use to enclose those notes. Sorry. And then he kind of puts it all together down here in figure 3. All right, looking over at figure 4, we see a C dominant 7th chord. All right, and this is a chord that is actually built around the scale of the key of F. And you'll hear that C7 wants to move to F. And that's called dominant motion, and this is a dominant chord and a tonic chord. So if we're using C7th, we would put the flat in because it's in the key of F. There's F with that one flat. And then to enclose the note, the very first form, improvisational form 1, we're just moving from a tension note down to a release and a chord tone, right? Part of the chord. All right, so that's tension and release, tension and release. And then this is not tension because, it's part of the chord. But of course, you could probably use that as well, but it's just not included here. He also talks a little bit in the next example how jazz rhythm is typically thought of as a swing rhythm based on a triplet. So instead of playing, it's played with a swing like that. All right, not too jazzy yet, but it will get there. Now let's look at figure 6. And he's got some rootless voicings here. He calls this first position and this second position. I've been calling them shape voices. I used to call them box, B-O-X, box voicings, because we analyzed them in a box. Rootless voicings. And these are things you use typically when you have a bass player playing the root, but you can use them as part of your solo style as well. So here we go. Let's put the metronome on. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Now, over here on the next page, and you can see, it takes the entire page to talk about this. And he really goes over the same material over and over again. So I'll just read the very first paragraph here. Analysis of figure 6 for all players. The tension-creating tones in figure 6 are the 2nd, 4th, and 6th scale steps of the dominant 7th chord in each measure. We've covered that already. Each tension-creating tone lies outside of the dominant 7th chord and is a non-chord tone which resolves to a target note. A chord tone which releases tension as follows. In measure 1, 2, and 3, the unit of tension and release is 2 to 1. In measure 3, the unit is 6 to 5. In measure 4, the unit is 4 to 3. Okay, and that's just the very first paragraph. So what he's saying here is, this is the second degree of the scale going to the first degree. And then also in F7 here, that's also the second moving to the root there. And then back here again, and then we have the 6 moving to the 5 and the 4 moving to the 3. And that's what we went over before. And T and R stands for tension and release. Now, one other important thing about this technique is skipping to a chord tone. So he's got another example here. Let me turn on the clicker. And you can hear it's starting to sound pretty jazzy now. So he starts on a chord tone, skips to a chord tone, and then we have our 4 to 3. He calls that unit 4 to 3, but this is improvisational form 1, which is just moving down to a chord tone from above, from a tension note to a chord tone. Now, another little detail about this is those were called inside tension tones. You have some outside tension tones as well, and we're going to move up for these. All right, so I'm moving from the +2, all right, a plus I guess means a sharp 2, but like that, and a +4 to a 5. Okay. If you see a chord symbol that says plus something, it can mean all kinds of different things. So this can get confusing, but this is what it means in this context. All right. And then down here, this is really kind of redundant, but he shows, all these notes, I guess, that could be outside tension tones. Okay, we've made it to improvisational form 2, and believe me, I'm going to move much quicker now through all the forms because it's getting boring. All right, so here we go. We got C7th again. I can leave out the 5th because that's typically done. Like when we did the rootless voicing, we didn't have a 5th. All right, so we're going up. A little Charleston rhythm. Ba-da-da-da, ba-do-ba-da-da-da-da, all right, and some of those were most of them were outside tensions, not even part of the scale, but that last one, that is part of the scale, all right? And that's called Mixolydian mode, by the way. If you take an F major scale, but you started on the C, keep that same flat in there, so it's like a major scale with a flatted 7th, and that's a Mixolydian mode. And now we're going to mix those two forms together. I'll use the rootless voicing and the metronome. 2, 3, 4. All right, and up above there you see F2, we're coming from below. F1 means we're coming down from above. Form 3. This one kind of has two little shapes. You can come down to the note with 2 half steps. Or you could have a note that's a half step above a chord tone and then drop a half step below a chord tone and then end on the chord tone. So and here, we're always starting on a tension. That's why we didn't do this. Even though it sounds good, C is not a tension, right? It's the root of the chord. Can't be a tension. But that certainly is, and it's an outside tension. It's not even in the scale. However, some of these are in the scale. But I see that when you do this technique, you're always going to have one outside tension and one inside tension. Well, it seems to be that way anyway. I kind of wonder why that one wasn't included, because I got an outside tension and another outside tension, and then we go there, but I don't know. And then using this technique to create some melodies. starting to sound pretty jazzy. Okay, improvisational form 4. And this says consists of 2 approaches to surround the target note. And so here we have it. All right, now here we're a whole step above and then a half step below. So now, all the other ones was like a whole step and then the note in between. Wasn't it? Yeah. That's right. A whole step or 2 half steps moving down. So now we have like a third going around the note, right? From there to there is a third. And here we have it going the other way. And it kind of occurs to me that you could kind of make a line just out of that. Or something. Just putting it all together as eighth notes. All right, and here's the one I played in the intro here. Let me try this one. 3, 4. Going from above first is the first way of doing it, and going from below is the second way of doing it. So the second way, we're going from below the note to the note, up above the note and then down to the note. And then now we did it kind of backwards. All right, so first one was, and then we reversed it. All right, and that's form 3. Yeah, if you can think back to that. And then here we got form 4 again. There, that was form 3. All right. Now, honestly, I don't think improvisers really think about this as much as Jimmy Amati has thought about it. I've come up with these kind of lines, just kind of made up stuff like that, and even this, typical jazz line. Let's see. We actually start on the target note and then surround it and come back to it. That's a very common jazz riff, and I'm going to show you a really great one out of a Chopin Waltz number 4, close to the end. Does an incredible, we'll have to call it improvisational form number 9. I like that. All right, number 5 here. Now we've got a 4-note unit now, and we're starting above with 2 half steps and then a half step below, and there we are. Are they all like that? Yeah, they're all like that. All right, they all have, it's like 4 chromatic notes, except they're in a different order. All right. I mean, there's so many good riffs you can do using very simple forms, but here we go. So that was that. That's improvisational form number 5, and here's an example. Turn our drummer on. And right there, that's a lot like my line. But anyway, this video is not about Tony Winston enclosures. This is about Jimmy Amati's enclosures. And here we go, form number 6. All right, so this is a 5-note thing. So we're going from below each time and back to where we were, and then chromatically in. Now that one's different. So I wonder why he made that one different. Well, from below, you only have that one note to go up, so you'd have to do something like, and that's, he didn't go there. And of course we have an example, so here we go. So let's just take a look at this example before I play it. Up above in the bracket, F6 means this is the form that we're studying. And I see he's got form 5 in there as well. And then all the little numbers underneath, that's just the degrees of the scale. So you're thinking about C Mixolydian scale and probably F Mixolydian scale as well. And remember, that's just a major scale, but not the regular 7, flat 7. All right, here we go. 2, 3, 4. All right, very good. Combining the forms. And I tell you, by the time you get all 8 of them, you're just creating a little spider's web of notes here. All right, form 7. Form 7 consists of a single chromatic movement and a double chromatic movement within a 5-note unit. All right, hope you understood that. I'm not sure I did. All right, so now let's see what we got here. We got F7. That's an inside tension, right? Remember in the beginning we went 2 to 1 and 4 to 3 and 6 to 5. But this is... All right, so here's our target. We're going to get to it. Nope. Then we're going to skip clear down to here. All right. So we start a whole step above, and we're going to be a whole step below at one point. All right. And let's see what else he's got here. Yep. All right. So they're all exactly the same. Whole step above, then start the pattern, a chromatic step, a third, minor third, and then chromatic. All right, and of course you can adjust these things, instead of maybe go like this, and maybe you go like that. All right. It just gets you thinking along these kind of lines that change directions. That's a kind of a hallmark of jazz lines is, they wiggle around, they leap, they change directions. They're usually fairly complex, compared to, say a simple Beethoven melody. That's from Symphony Number 5, I do believe. Improvisational form number 8. Yay! We made it. All right, let's see. It's going to be on F7 here. Yeah, so it's like what we kind of had before, except it starts below and then comes above, and then you would think it would just end in like that, but it kind of loops around again. All right, that's just some of my own shit there, and used a little blues scale in there. And he does talk about the blues scale. He talks about modal playing, different kind of song forms, very common jazz forms. So it's a pretty interesting book, and I'm sure I will do another video on it, because it is a hard book to find. But this material is covered in lots of other books as well. All right, so we got a Form 8 and a Form 7 here. Let's put the clicker on. Sometimes I think those numbers are fingering numbers, and it messes me up. 3, 4. All right, not, oh, there's a little bit more to it. Okay. Oh, this is going to be hard. And that's a little blues scale, kind of. All right, let me see if I can do this whole example. 1. All right, I met my match on that one. And just a little bit of some of the upcoming stuff here. He starts getting into like a C major 6/9 chord. It starts off very basically, and then he's got like a zillion examples over here. A variation. And he's using different forms, I guess, and tension notes. And yeah, all says C major. Probably should have played a C6 chord. And he's got some great chords in here as well. He's got some kind of modern voicings. Well, this is like an F minor blues. That kind of thing. I'll get into that. I really will. Won't be long. Oh, I almost forgot. I was going to do that Chopin thingy. It was under my trophy. All right, yeah, it's in waltz number 4. Now, this is a really hard waltz, too. It's been a long time. You know, it's all... Now he's going to get in 2 measures from F major to F 7th. And he's going to do the most twisted path you can imagine. All right? I bet we could find some Jimmy Amati forms in that. But just check that again. Sorry. So you can hear some really complex melodies going on there. And this is, you know, why I love Chopin, Bach, Scriabin. I've got this piece in A minor that it just refuses to play the A minor chord through the whole entire song until you get to the end. It goes all the way around. I can think of another thing, too, that I use all the time in the blues and just improvising, a Chopin thing, which is something like this. So it's just a little enclosure, right, from below, above, and there it is. And then to there, and like that. And, you know, I adjust it sometimes. But if you're doing the blues, yeah. Ah, crap. Thanks, everybody.